Wow, do you guys even realize that the next Disney princess is here? She's gotten so little coverage and nobody's talking about her. Are you guys not interested to see where Disney's going next? Well, stick around so I can tell you why you're missing out. Raya is here to stay. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you've never seen my face before, my name's Ken and I love all things music, film, television, and literature, as well as all things pop culture in general. So today we're going to be talking Raya and the Last Dragon. But before we get into the review, please hit the like and subscribe button down below because that would really help your boy out. Do it for me, do it for all the Disney princesses out there, do it for all the other Disney creatures, do it for all the Disney fans. Like and subscribe so on this channel we can talk more Disney. Thank you, my Disney friends. I love you very much. This is our first Disney princess since Moana back in, 2016? Now, going into this film, I was already very excited because I love all things Disney, especially the princesses. They usually get them right. So I wasn't too nervous about this one. But I did start to get nervous when I saw they weren't really giving Raya the proper Disney princess promotion. Now, I'm not sure why, but it might have something to do with the fact that Mulan kind of flopped for the studio, and they didn't want to put all their trust in Raya the way they did with Mulan. Especially considering they both went to Premier Access, they both deal heavily with the Asian culture. But I think by doing so, Disney is doing a very big disservice to Raya. Let me tell you, after seeing this movie, she is a tipping point for the new age of Disney. So to try to help you guys get an understanding of what Raya is, since there was such little promotion, I would consider her a blend of Mulan, Kung Fu Panda, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let me break down the movie similarities to all three. This movie reminds me of Mulan because, of course, the Asian representation, but also just Raya and Mulan have a couple similarities, specifically their relationships with their father, which you'll see, as well as just their warrior fighting spirit. However, where I think that it becomes more like Kung Fu Panda is Raya and the Last Dragon is more of a group project film than a solo adventure, which you wouldn't know because they never advertised it that way. While Raya is the central focus of this story, there is a group in this movie that you'll be focusing on. And within that group, you're gonna get plenty of humor that would bring you back to Kung Fu Panda. And last but not least, the most obvious comparison you can make with this movie, Avatar: The Last Airbender. So this might be Disney's ripoff of Avatar. It might be Disney clapback to Paramount for having such a massive franchise on their hand, rooted in Asian culture. I think Disney saw the market that they were missing out on, and they heavily dove deep to swipe you guys up. And let me tell you, I think they succeeded. Now, to be fair, Raya and Avatar both have different factions, and they have similar animals in both their franchises, and some of the looks are very, very similar, almost like a carbon copy of Disney, especially with that outfit Raya was wearing in the beginning. Korra who? But Avatar is way more PG-13, while Raya is like the family-friendly equivalent. With that being said though, one of Avatar's biggest strengths is their action sequences. Well, let me tell you, Raya has that too. This movie is stuffed with action. In fact, the action sequences in Raya were so clever and they were created and manufactured so well. It's unlike anything I've ever seen Disney do. It was so well done, it almost looked like it was an animated simulation of a live action fight. And when it comes to the fighting, the people in this world have some pretty cool weapons. Let me tell you, when you see Raya's sword and what it can do, mic drop. Whoever came up with the idea, I want to applaud you heavily for that. That was one of the best weapons I've seen in a long time in any film. And there's also something in this movie called dragon magic. And the way that this dragon magic was used, I think was so clever on Disney's part, and just opens an endless world of possibilities on where they can take this. So trust me, just because this is the more family-friendly equivalent of Avatar, don't think that you're gonna get cheated out. Something that stuck out to me about this movie, the plot of it was so detailed. The exposition in this movie was so thorough. And it was probably deeper than any other Disney movie I've ever seen. To be fair, this is the first Disney princess movie in who knows how long, probably since Merida, who might be the one and only before this, where there's no singing at all. And while I myself love the singing, I'm all for a good musical moment. The absence of it really allowed the story in Raya to get really rich and developed because they didn't have to keep stopping for musical sequences. So instead of a musical furthering the story, you got a lot of dialogue and action that furthered the story. Also be aware, the world you're about to step into when you watch Raya, it's a fully formed world. It's a world that Disney thought out so much that they gave a whole backstory into this world in the beginning of the movie. And even past that, going forward in the movie, they continue to give you more and more of the past and what happened before the movie took place. It makes you feel a part of the world. It creates a real immersive experience, and you'll have so much lore in this world that you can just sink your teeth into. In fact, there was so much backstory stuffed into this movie, I wonder how long Disney plans to stay in this world of Raya and the Last Dragon, because they certainly thought it through. Now, what I'm about to say is one of the craziest parts of this movie. I did not realize, even after I saw the movie, while I was coming up with this review, I came across an article where Kelly Marie Tran, who plays Raya, was talking about how she interprets her character to be gay. And while she's the actress, I trust whatever she says. If that's what she thinks, then I'll go with that. But that made me realize the idea of love within this world and who would Raya want to be with never crossed my mind, because it's not a topic the movie ever goes over. It's not a topic ever brought up. It's not something that you even have time to think of. No character in this movie has a love interest, which is so peculiar for Disney. And the fact that I watched this movie, enjoyed it so much, and I myself am a hopeless romantic, but the concept of love never crossed my mind while watching this movie, and I never felt like I was being cheated out of something or I was missing something from this Disney experience, says a lot about the future of Disney. I want you guys to also know this movie has a lot of spiritual underlying tones. The characters have a belief system that they follow, and while it's never explicitly said, there's a lot of gestures and moments in the film where they pay their respects to spirits or ones they lost. So for Disney to not just dip their toe, but to really dive into a world where this religion plays out, I think it's a big step on their part, and I'm very glad they took it and aren't trying to just please the masses. There also are so many female characters in this film. In fact, a majority, like literally about 90% of the characters in this film are female, and not only are they female, they're strong females. They all have their own personalities and way of viewing the world. I think that it was an incredible thing to watch, and I think it really shows people what not only women are capable of, but also the fact that women can lead a film. They don't always have to be the male equivalents in a film. With barely any male characters in this movie, I'm telling you, the male audience will also enjoy Raya. Do not think that this movie is made just for girls, which there's no such thing as girl stuff and boy stuff, but I know those of you out there who strongly think that there are. So for those of you who think that, you're not going to feel that way watching this movie, because Raya, along with the rest of the females in this movie, can do anything men can do, and more so. Like, for example, while the majority of the characters are female, action tends to lean towards more of a male audience. So when I'm telling you this movie has tons of action that it does not shy away from in the slightest, everyone can sit down and fully enjoy Raya. One of my favorite parts about this movie, though, is that Raya is a flawed character. Yes, you heard that correct. Our newest Disney princess is flawed. She's nowhere near perfect. In fact, not to give too much away, but her mentality does trigger a lot to the problems the characters in this movie face. The reason I love that so much is because having a flawed hero, especially a flawed princess, compared to all the other princesses, having Raya be flawed, still having her great amazing qualities that we can love her for, but also having her faults, which are apparent, makes her more real. It makes her more human and more relatable for everyone. It's not building up an unrealistic expectation of, I can never be like Raya, because Raya is just an everyday human. She has problems she has to work through too. And that leads into the villain of the movie. This I find so interesting on Disney's part, that they chose their main villain to be more of an entity, while the rest of the characters in the movie can be antagonistic at times. But this movie does a really good job at humanizing everyone across the board. Everyone from Raya to the human antagonists are all really well fledged out characters who are all in the gray area. It's not black and white, it's not you're good, you're bad. Everybody has a blend of both within them. And that is the type of realism I love to see in this film. I've never seen Disney allow us, the audience, be able to see inside other characters' heads besides just our main protagonists and see their point of view, where they're coming from, why they think the way they do, why they're choosing to act the way they do, why they're against our protagonists. And by the end of the movie, it all makes sense and you can understand where each character is coming from in their own way. Now, as soon as you start the movie, you're gonna get smacked over the head with the central theme of trust. When you watch the movie and you see what they do with this theme of trust, I want you to let me know down below what your opinions on the matter is. Now, as far as the graphics of this movie, I think this is some of the best animated work Disney has ever done. It's very much realism. The details from this, just the background to the characters, is impeccable. I mean, I kept getting so lost throughout the movie. Every time I saw Raya, her hair just looks so real. I could not get over it. And when you get close-ups of her face, her lips look so real, and the lip gloss or whatever she's wearing on it, like, Raya could really be a real person. So to be able to witness that level of animation, it was very, very beautiful. And it makes me very excited to see where Disney can take this even further. While majority of the movie is in this 3D animation that we're so used to now, you're also going to see some slithers of different animations sprinkled throughout. I want to give a shout out to Gemma Chan, who plays Namari. I feel like not enough people are talking about her. She did an excellent job with this role and provided a lot of layers to Namari. You may think because this is an animated movie that it's all about the animators and the writing that has to do with our perceptions of the characters. But the voice acting in this movie is just as important. Also, Awkwafina as Sisu, the dragon. She was hilarious, let me tell you. This was an amazing role for her. I wouldn't have anybody else play this role. Awkwafina nailed it over the head. She is Sisu now and forevermore. And lastly, Kelly Marie Tran as Raya. I think that she did an excellent job. I think it's an honor to be a Disney princess, but there's also a lot of pressure and expectations within that as well. And Kelly Marie Tran did an excellent job living up to that. And I have to say, across the board, the emotions that these voice actresses were able to portray to their characters was moving. Like, it really made me feel for the characters. It made me sympathize with them and see where they were all coming from. That's how good of a job the actors did. It felt like the animators and the voice actors really worked together to create these fully fledged out characters and stories. Now, any scene in this movie where there was a lot of fun, playful banter between the characters and where you were able to see them bond and their relationship grow with each other were some of the best moments in this movie. And there's a moment, you guys know when you'll see it. It's the moment right before the big climax of the story, the big final battle. From this moment on, I was floored, awed, in shock of how good everything about it was, from the acting to the animation to the imagery. Everything from that final scene leading into the climax and onward towards the final last scene, everything about that ending was beautiful. So while third acts of movies can be messy and fall apart, I think for Raya, the third act was really, really strong. And I will say it might have been a little bit rushed. They could have maybe done a little bit more with it. But like I said, the third act is usually the hardest part of the movie for anybody, whether it's animated, live action, whatever. So from what I saw in this movie, it was really well done. Now, because of the lack of buzz for this movie, I don't know how it's gonna do for Disney. And I think Disney hurt the movie by thinking Mulan hurt the movie. Let me explain. While it may be true, prior to Mulan coming out, people may have been more receptive to pay for premiere access for Raya. And now, because of the bomb that Mulan was and people's reception towards that, Raya being the follow-up to that may put it at a disadvantage where people don't want to spend another $30 on a movie they may hate. However, I genuinely think that this is one of the most impressive things Disney has ever done. I think this doesn't even fully feel like Disney. The level of story that went on in this one movie was insane. And like I said with the fight scenes, that it seemed like it was an animated reenactment of a live action fight. I think that stands true for everything in the movie. This felt like this could have been a live action movie. Like, it was that good. Not anything against animated movies. I love animated movies, but I'm saying just the way that it was made, from some of the angles that the camera followed the characters, and just the level of emotion on the character's face. Like, their tears were so real. In fact, I think that this was such a job well done on Disney's part, and it was so different from their previous work. I think that this may be the next step for Disney Animation as a company. I think that they are going to start handling a little bit more thoughtful, mature themes. And by mature, I don't mean rated R. I just mean like they'll dive deeper into their storytelling abilities. Because like I said, with the backstory and just the amount of exposition in this movie, this felt so much bigger than the rest of their movies before, that I think Disney had plans to continue Raya, and they might still do, which I definitely hope they do because I enjoyed it that much. I think Disney wanted to either make a sequel or a show from Raya because of how much exposition that they gave. There's no other reason. We did not need all that backstory if we're not going to stay in this world longer. If we're going to stay in Raya for this, however long the movie was, like, let's say 2 hours. If we're staying in the world of Raya for 2 hours and we're never going to see it again, it wouldn't make sense. So it feels like this was almost like a backdoor pilot into specifically a show. While they can't do another movie, I think it felt like we were more leading into a show, and that's the better route for it to go. Especially because we could be able to dive more into the 4 different factions that they split up into, and the way that the movie ends, where we can explore from there. I think a Raya show specifically for Disney Plus would be very smart for the company, and I think that if they start promoting a little bit better, this can be something that everybody can really get on board with. So with that being said, I personally really love this movie, and I will watch it over and over again because I was so impressed with just the details of everything in the movie, from the animation to the storytelling to just the emotions from the characters themselves. So therefore, I give this movie a 5 out of 5 stars. I very much recommend this movie. I think anybody who's a fan of any of the 3 franchises I said, from Mulan, Kung Fu Panda, Avatar, will specifically like this movie. But I think it's really open for everybody. Everybody can find something they like about it. Now, I know you're gonna be like, I'll just wait till it comes on regular price on Disney Plus. While I understand your reservations towards paying the $30, because $30 is a lot, especially when you're not really owning this movie, because by paying the $30, you're just having it as part of your Disney Plus subscription. So if you don't have Disney Plus anymore, you don't have the movie. But I genuinely do think it's worth it because, like I said, it's a new step for Disney. So you're gonna want to rewatch it over and over again, because it's like, if this is only the beginning, which I would say the real beginning began in Frozen, then Moana, and now this is like the peak. This is where we're gonna tip over now, and it's gonna be like a whole new age for Disney. Where before we had the musicals take over, now we're getting a very realistic, deep story dive feel. Also, the way Disney Plus is set up, you can share your account with your families, your friend. You can just pay it and everybody can watch it. So with that being said, I guess it also depends on your household and who shares your account, because if you're gonna pay to go see this in a movie theater, basically $30 will get you about 2 tickets depending on where you're from. So if you're paying $30 and more than one person's gonna see it, I genuinely do think it's worth it. Anyways, that's my review of Raya and the Last Dragon. I hope that you guys all love it as much as I do, and I really would love to hear your thoughts about it down below. And also be sure to tell me where you think Disney is taking their animated movies next. So before you go, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video if you enjoyed it, as well as turn on the post notifications so you can get notified whenever I upload, because those are all very important things to do here on YouTube, and it would really help me and my channel grow. I love talking movies with you guys. I hope you love talking them with me. So thank you for watching. Have a good day, and peace out.